Well, today I'm going to speak a lot about dogs, and cats are great too. If you haven't had a dog, you're missing an experience. If you haven't had a cat, you're missing an experience. Anyway, got a little short video. I had requested for people to send pictures of their dogs. I received a number of pictures. I put them together in a little video. We were going to have a song to go with the video. I wrote a song to go with it, and unfortunately, a few technical difficulties. My singer lost his voice, and if I tried to sing it, you'd leave before the service was over. So anyway, get a dog. This is the words to what the song was going to be on. You'll hear the soundtrack on the first part of the video. When you're looking for a friendship just to calm you through the night, when you need to feel a presence to know that things are right, who will listen to your sorrows, not judge when you shed tears. If you want to make life better, get a dog. God surely made them special because he knew there'd be those times when no other friend could bring you that needed peace of mind. With a happy disposition, tail wagging all through space. If you want to make life better, get a dog. With a cold nose pressed against you and a paw upon your lap, they will beg for some attention, then always give it back. They will never whisper secrets. Love is always in their eyes. If you want to make life better, get a dog. They will nudge you while you're sleeping to know it's time to rise, for they want to share each moment. Each day is a grand surprise. Never happy when you leave them, always glad when you appear. If you want to make life better, get a dog. When they're running, and this is kind of a touchy part for most of you who've lost dogs, but it's serious. When their running days are over and it's time for them to rest, treat them with compassion, for they've given you their best. Though goodbyes will leave you broken, memories soothe the pain, for life was surely better with a dog. In the video. Okay, dog tails. You notice I spelled it, that's not incorrect spelling. Normally it's T-A-I-L, dog tails. Almost everyone that has an animal has some story about it. You know, there's all kinds of stories. And as I talk about a few stories that I know personally, I'm sure what happens with me is a lot of times when I'm listening to someone else's story, I think about, oh, I know something similar. Something happened like that to me. And that's the way we tend to communicate a lot, is we're listening a bit and we're thinking in the process. Now me, with my hearing, I almost have to stop thinking when I'm listening. I can't do two things at once too well. But anyway, dog tails. First dog I had I don't remember, I was just a little guy. And this dog was standing out on a back porch one day. Now, you're going to think this, that when I finish with the story, you might not let me finish the rest of the day. But I was standing out on the back porch, and I'm a little guy. I mean, I'm not more than 3 or 4 years old. And I'm watching this dog, and his tail's going. In my immature mind, I'm curious as to what makes that tail go. So I grabbed it a couple of times, and he pulled away, and he's eating. So I walk in the house. The back door is right into the kitchen. So I walk in, and there's a butcher knife laying on the counter. So I pick up the butcher knife, and I walk out there, and I'm going to find out what makes that tail. And I grabbed that tail, and I started, and that dog did not like that. And my mother did not like that. And I got into some major trouble, and the dog stayed shy of me for a long time. And I've thought about that. A lot of people say that's the making of some kind of mental disorder. You know what? I've been mentally disordered forever, but the reality was I had no clue that it would hurt that dog. I was seriously curious about what made that dog tail number one. I had all kinds of dogs when I was little. We lived close to an intersection, and people would dump off animals all the time. And up until I was about 8 years old, I didn't have a real dog. You know what I mean by a real dog? One of one breed. Most of the dogs that I had like 57 variety. So we used to watch Lassie on television all the time. I don't know, most of you guys, unless you see the things in reruns, you don't even know what Lassie is. But Lassie was the smartest collie dog in the whole world. I mean, this dog had incredible talent. He would save Timmy in the well. I mean, there was all kinds of things so I always wanted a collie. Well, I'd recently lost a dog. They usually got run over on the road or something happened to them. They'd disappear. My mother took me down to the dog pound. Her and my dad took me down to the dog pound, and they were going to find me a dog. So I was walking along, and we saw the most beautiful collie in the dog pound. They don't call them dog pounds now. I mean, it's a humane society or something. But anyway, I walked by that dog, and I immediately fell in love with it. And I wanted that dog. So my mother inquired, and in those days, you had to pay the fee for holding the dog. In other words, their feeding fee and stuff was so much a day. So when she found out that dog was $10, that was more money than we had in those days, extra. We were on a tight budget, always had enough food to eat, always had clothes, but they lasted. And we survived well. I didn't know that we were in poverty level then. I didn't realize that. I didn't even heard that term. But $10, and we couldn't afford the dog. So I'm all distraught about the thing because I don't understand the dynamics. And we start walking out. And my dad says, I've been saving for some time. I have the money. And he had it tucked away. And he took that $10 out and bought that dog. And I'm telling you, I was in heaven. I mean, that's a distant picture. You can see it, but I'm a little older there. Had the dog for several years, but that collie, I love that dog. He knew more about me then than anybody else. We'd sit next to a tree and talk. I'd tell him stories. And during that period of time, my mother was dying from liver cirrhosis, and so there were a lot of times when I needed somebody to talk to, and the dog was there. So that dog was, I imagine I had him probably 7 or 8 years before he finally died of heart disease. But anyway, that's one story with collies. I'm going to tell you another story. My message today is going to kind of shift between some humor and some serious stuff. We're going to bounce back and forth. So the second story is, I used to enjoy listening to a gentleman named Jerry Clowers, comedian, and he had a story about a collie dog that I thought was just really nice. Now, Jerry said that he has a cousin named Marcel who was terrible about telling the truth. He said Marcel would climb a tree to tell you a lie if he could stand on the ground and tell you the truth. So Marcel was bad at lying. One day Marcel came into his home screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, there's a lion out there. Daddy, there's a lion out there." His father knew there was no lion in the area, so he said, "Marcel, I am tired of your lying. I've had it. You go up to your room. I want you to kneel down on your knees, and I want you to talk to God about this." So Marcel went upstairs, and he knelt down for a while. His dad waited for a period of time, and when he thought Marcel had learned his lesson, he said, "Marcel, are you ready to come back down?" Marcel says, "Yes, Dad." So he comes downstairs. His dad said, "Did you talk to God about this?" And Marcel, "Yes, Dad, I did." "Did God speak to you?" "Yes, Dad, God spoke to me." "What did he say to you, Marcel?" Marcel said, now, I think I missed a piece of this. The neighbors had shaved this collie except for the little hair up around his neck. Everything, it was summertime, hot, so they had just shaved him. And so when Marcel saw it, that's when he run in and started claiming, "Oh, there's a lion, Daddy." So anyway, after Marcel prayed about this thing, and his daddy said, "What did God say?" "God told me," Marcel said, "when he first saw the dog, he thought it was a lion too." So you never know what kind of tales you're going to get on these things. The results of several scientific studies indicate that dog owners and their dogs tend to look alike. Now, I gathered up a few pictures of some that have some semblance here. Dogs and their owners. It's amazing how some of that goes. Now, this next picture will get your attention. That is part of the Dunbar family. Rick and Sharon couldn't be here today, but she sent me that picture, and I thought it was kind of cool. Be careful that your love for dogs doesn't go to your head. If you look a little photoshopping up there, Matthew 13:34, Jesus spoke all these things to the crowd in parables. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. Dictionary.com says a short allegorical story designed to illustrate or teach some truth, religious principle, or moral lesson. And so, sermon's not going to be tremendously long today, but I want to tie some things together with dogs. First, dogs are wonderful things. But, I've heard the story. A lot of people say it. God loves the sinner, hates the sin. If you Google that, there's a lot of comments on it. And one person said, "So God hates my father and mother, but he loves me." Well, that's a strange way of putting it together, but people struggle with that. And I did to some extent too. Okay, how can God, it almost is so intertwined that it's confusing. But I love that dog. So I'm going to tell you something about that dog here. I'm going to show you something about that dog. This is a container with 1 week's worth of shed dog hair. I mean, if you can't see this very close, I mean, I could make another dog out of this. It's amazing how much he shed. Now, my wife, she's vacuuming all the time. I mean, to walk around the house, unless he's just walked through the path, you wouldn't know it, because she does a great job of keeping it cleaned up. But this dog shed. I hate that. I hate all that hair. He was up here this morning for just a few minutes. I've got hair all over my black pants. She's got hair all over her. We'll probably have to pay extra to get the guy to vacuum the carpet. Oh, we did get permission to bring the dog in, so not something we're going to be doing more than once. But anyway, I did not really understand the concept of love the sinner, hate the sin, until I compared it to the dog and the dog hair. I can't stand the dog hair, but I love that dog. Now, in the stories, there's going to be something I want you to do in this sermon. Takeout. You know what a takeout is. You go in, you order something, you go in and pick it up. So think of this today as kind of takeout procedure. You come in on a regular takeout, you bring your money, you leave your money, and you take something away. So that's okay too. You can do that here. Leave your money and take something else. So I'm going to try to give you something to take away on this. Many times, we tend to look at people not from the good side, but from the bad hair part. We pick out things that are negative about them and capitalize on those and forget about all the other good things. This dog has some tremendous things that I really love about it. I don't like the hair. God said very clearly, Jesus said very clearly, you will know my disciples by how they love one another. When you love someone, when you care about them, you put up with the hair. You put up with the negative stuff. You put up with the things you don't particularly like, because there's a quality there in every individual. Every one of us has bad hair. Something about us that's not likable. Sometimes we like to pretend that's not true, but the truth of it is we all have something that someone else may not like. And so accepting a person for who they are, not capitalizing, not focusing, not spending all our time on the hair, is something that God would have us do, and you will be happier about it. If you spend all your time looking for the negative, you won't have to spend a lot of time, because you can find it really quickly. We have it. Now, that's one takeout. Love the person, not the negative qualities, because there's plenty of them. God loves us, and he sees the hair, and it's a whole lot bigger basket than this little thing. But he still loves us, and he wants us to love one another. Now, the second takeaway that I want you to have this morning. How many of you have dogs that are outside dogs only? They just stay outside. You know, they don't really spend any time. I see some hands. There's everybody's dogs inside. Okay, there's a few that are outside only. When I was a kid, dogs did not come in the house. Period. Yeah. And so that was the way I was raised. Dogs are outside, people were inside. If the dog got caught in the house, then I was usually in trouble if I brought him in, or he was in trouble because he was in there. So dogs were outside, and that's the way I was raised. Not saying right or wrong, that's just the way it was. Now, I married a lovely lady whose passion for dogs meant they're inside dogs. And her dogs were always inside. So for the first, 30 years of our marriage, I won the inside-outside thing with any dogs we have. The dogs pretty much stayed outside, except when I come home and find out that the dog's managed it. Well, he just wandered in or something, So, and the same way with the cats. So animals, when I came up, were outside. That was just common. Again, not right or wrong. It's just the way I was raised. And so when this dog came along, this is the first dog that has spent as much time as he wants inside. So that shows you what has happened to my character over the years. I've diminished to the point where, yes, ma'am. Yes, we bring the dog in. Well, hey, all of us know if mama's not happy, nobody's going to be happy. So we kind of take care of that. And I actually enjoy having the dog inside except for the hair. I could do without that part. But I have gotten close to this dog. We have a relationship that is different than any of the previous dogs that I've ever had. And that is simply because he spends more time at my side. He's there. We go, he goes. We move around the house, he moves around the house. And I'm not trying to put that as good or bad to any of you because you have to make your own choices. But in that relationship, it's something that I didn't experience before because dogs were outside. Now that he's inside, I have come to appreciate dogs in a whole different way. Here's the second point I want you to take away. Is your God an inside God or an outside God? Where is he in your life? Do you keep him at distance? Is everything that you do that relates to God from a distance? Or do you allow him in your life in a very real way? To walk beside you, to be with you, to be a friend. If you are keeping God on the outside, you're missing the joy of a wonderful experience. And so, as we move into the new year, think about these two takeaways. Thank you. Happy New Year.